is up, everyone? It is Mav. This is Mav Magic. This is a place where I am trying to help my trans brothers, sisters, and siblings to really become their higher selves and to understand the true beauty within. Today, we'll be talking a little bit about self-love. What I mean when I say self-love, well, it's the practice of being able to really fall in love with yourself. Why would you want to do that? Let me tell you, love truly is the foundation for all of life. It's something that we can't live without. Things are created and formed through love. Love is what sustains us and moves us through this world. That's why we hear things like, love is all you need. But what does that really practically look like? And what can we do if we're in a place where we're struggling to find that self-love and that self-connection? Well, we're gonna talk about that today in detail. And I wanna talk to you about 3 specific things. So why self-love is important. Is self-love even possible for you or for me as a trans person? And I'm going to give you some of my best practical tips for finding that self-love. So talking about why self-love is important, I mentioned a little bit before that it's just the foundation for everything. Love is the foundation for everything, and it's definitely the foundation for us to develop our own self-identity, finding our purpose and meaning in life. I really do believe in the phrase that if you can't love yourself, you really can't love anyone else. As a great RuPaul says, if you can't love yourself, how in the hell are you gonna love somebody else? You know, can I get an amen? Amen in the comments below if you agree. And I've really been on the journey and discovery of self-love and really understanding how important it is to love yourself, and understanding that finding love for myself was one of the really important things that I needed to do to move on in life and to grow in life and to really just rest in my trans identity even. We learn through our own unconditional love of self how to love others unconditionally and how to give others the love and respect and care that they deserve. I really do believe that things that are within us will eventually spill outside of us in some type of a way. So if there is some deep-seated self-loathing, self-hatred, those things are going to seep out into our relationships. And I know that oftentimes, for a person like me, I really considered myself as a really nice person, and I was like really kind. And how could that, that self-hatred that I had for myself really didn't matter? I could still love other people and give them what they needed while I wasn't meeting my own needs. That felt fine to me, made complete sense. But then my relationships started to suffer. My connections weren't as meaningful as I really wanted them to be. And I had no idea why. And it wasn't until I started developing that self-love that I really came to understand how vitally important it was for me to develop this. And that's really what I talk to you today about. And this is why I want to talk about this topic. Another thing to remember is that developing self-love is a very important part of understanding and developing our own personal boundaries. Oftentimes, if we don't truly love ourselves, we don't really know how to care for ourselves. We don't know how to limit ourselves in relationships that may not be serving us. We may hold on too tightly to things that we really don't need and that aren't going to help us to elevate into our higher selves and really connect to source and connect to our own divine power. The practice of self-love is incredibly important. This practice can help us get closer and become one with our higher self, with our true identity, not just in what other people believe that we need to be, or even what we think that we need to be loved or to be successful, but who we truly are. It's important for you to know that there definitely was a practice of self-love when you understood that you were trans and you told yourself that you were trans and then shared that with other people. It is a self-loving act to know who you are and to let other people know who you are and to invite them into your experience to understand you as a whole person. That is a beautiful thing. And so if you're here and if you're trans and you're understanding that, you have already completed one step of this process. And I want you to keep moving forward in that energy, understanding that you can increase that self-love to push out those toxic thought patterns and really elevate our consciousness. Next, I want to talk about self-love as a trans person, thinking about, is self-love even possible for me? You might say, Mav, you know, the dysphoria is so bad. You don't understand what it's like for me. The pain is too real. The way that I feel about myself when I wake up in the morning is so loud. Maybe it wakes me up at night. Maybe it doesn't let you go outside. I know the pain of that experience, and I hope that you understand that me encouraging the practice of self-love doesn't discount the gravity of how painful dysphoria can be. Dysphoria is often a massive issue for us trans folks. It can feel impossible to even consider the possibility of self-love when those things can be so intense. But I'm here to tell you that it is truly possible. My love, it is possible to have self-love even in the midst of crippling dysphoria. Someone needs to hear that just because your soul is housed inside of a body that doesn't match your gender identity, and that might have parts that you really don't resonate with and you might feel completely disconnected from, that doesn't make you any less worthy of love. It doesn't make that body that you're living in right now any less deserving of self-love. Every inch of your body deserves to be loved. Every inch of your body is truly sacred. No matter how your body changes, it's still housing the same mind. So if you're encouraging that those cycles of self-hatred, that's not going to stop as soon as you get surgery. That's not going to stop as soon as you go on hormones. Those things are still going to be there. They need to be addressed right now in this present moment, because this present moment is all we have. This way, when we actually get to have those surgeries or we get to go on hormones, we can just revel in the excitement that it brings, because we're not relying on those changes to bring love to ourselves. It's a little bit backwards, honestly. And I found that out the hard way. Going on hormones didn't fix all of my dysphoria. It didn't make everything, it made some things better, but it didn't make everything better. There was still a lot of pain that I had to deal with on my own. I thought that coming out as trans and starting my transition would be it, but there was so much more that I had to understand. And this is why I'm here talking to you, because I hope that you won't have to go through all the things that I did, and I can help you earlier on in your transition, even before you begin your transition. This is something that you can work on right now. So, what are my tips? Here are some practical, hands-on ways that you can begin practicing self-love today, right now even. One of the first things is to start by increasing your self-compassion and using positive self-talk. These ones go hand in hand. One thing that can be so drastically detrimental to our progress is our inner critic. This critic can be one of the harshest critics out there. I know that my inner voice is harsh towards me. I can really beat myself up, and unfortunately, I know the best ways to push my own buttons and work myself up and tear myself down. And so monitoring that inner critic, speaking to yourself with more self-compassion is definitely going to help increase your self-love. One of the ways to really discover how your inner critic sounds, maybe the next time you're going about your day and you might forget something, you drop something on the ground, you stub your toe. What are the ways that you speak to yourself inside of your head? Is it, you freaking idiot? Why'd you do that for? That's not going to be very helpful. I encourage you to shift the way you're speaking and really talk to your inner child. How would you speak to a small child if they made a mistake, if they stumbled, or if they did something? If we see a small child make a mistake, we're not going to treat them with that aggression, or rather we shouldn't be treating them with that aggression and the anger that we oftentimes feel for ourselves. We need to be treating that inner child with tenderness and compassion. My dear, I know that you made a mistake, but it's okay. Dust yourself off, get up and try again. The next tip number 2 is positive affirmations. Y'all, this is so important. Being able to speak those positive truths to yourself will change your life. How do you do it? So this is the technique that I use. It's been radically helpful for me. So take a pen. If you have 2 colors of a pen, that's ideal. Maybe if you just have a pen and a pencil, that'd be fine. So you take your one color of your pen, maybe it's black. You write out negative thoughts. This might mean that you need to take some time to really track your negative thought patterns, write them down as they come up. After you've written down your negative thoughts, take that second color of a pen, maybe it's red, purple, whatever you've got. You want to cross out those negative thoughts, write a positive affirmation on the opposite side. If it's, I'm getting emotional thinking about this, like, I'm not beautiful, I'm ugly. Maybe it means crossing that out, writing, I'm stunning, I'm gorgeous. Maybe it's, I will never be masculine enough, right? Crossing that out, saying like, I am everything that I need to be. Whatever you need to hear, you need to be saying to yourself. Just as that inner critic is so good at knowing what buttons to push to tear us down, there's also that inner voice that knows exactly what we need to hear. Listen to that voice. It's already inside of you. The third tip is shadow work. Take some time to, I'm not going to really explain it in this video, but take some time to understand what shadow work is. It really is examining your shadow self, the parts of yourself that you might not really want to talk about, you might not really want to examine, but it forces you to kind of look deeper into yourself and see like what things might I need to shift. And doing this kind of a practice can help really address those areas in your life that you might not be so pleased with, because you do really have the power to take control of the situations, even those situations in the past, rewrite them and continue to move forward. I really encourage you to take some time to develop this practice. It is something that I'm still developing and working on, but it has been transformational for me and has really helped me even deal with some of the trauma that I've been through and that I've experienced. So I really recommend doing some shadow work. The next one, this is tip number 4. Tip number 4, which is meditation. If you have 10 minutes, which most people do, 10 minutes, just do a simple meditation practice. One really easy way to do this is by searching a guided meditation on the internet, right on YouTube. Type that in the search bar after this video, pop that on, let it play. You'll notice the differences pretty soon. One specific meditative practice that I have been working on is the ponopono, which is a self-love mantra meditation that has been so helpful, so beautiful to me. So I'm gonna quickly go over the parts of that, and I would really encourage you to also do a little bit of research. I'll leave some information below about this specific meditation. So to engage in this practice, there are 4 phrases to repeat to yourself. It is, I am sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. I'm sorry really actually does an interesting thing. It identifies the fact that the practice that we've had of really engaging in our self-hatred has been damaging to us. We need to understand and take responsibility for the damage that we're doing to ourselves and tell ourselves that we're sorry. Next is also taking responsibility for those feelings and saying, please forgive me. So we are recognizing that this form of withholding has really caused us harm, and this is us really taking full responsibility for that and asking an apology. Next is just saying to yourself, thank you. Acknowledging and resting in the gratitude that you have this moment right now to say I love you to yourself. Take a moment to really just rest in the gratitude of this practice. This is such an incredible practice that you're doing right now, taking ownership of your own self-love, saying thank you. Having gratitude is such an amazing way to increase this practice. And lastly is I love you. Giving ourselves those words of affirmation that we truly need, really resting in that love right now. And my 5th tip, my last tip, is that this takes time. This one is less practical, but I'm sneaking it in there because this is so important for life in general. Our brains are very good at holding on to things. And since we have been practicing this self-loathing and self-hatred for the majority of our lives, and not only the self-hatred, self-loathing, but the hatred and loathing that we experience from sometimes family and friends, people who are supposed to love us, communities that are supposed to support us, we don't always find that love. So we need to find that for ourselves. And not only that, but we need to give our minds time to readjust. We've had all that time to solidify those negative practices and those neural pathways up in our brain. We remember that our brain is, we think about the neuroplasticity of our brain, the fact that our brain can change. We need to set up those new patterns, those new pathways, and that takes time. So tomorrow, if you run into another negative thought, take a breath, stop, remind yourself that you're loved. Remind yourself of the whole ponopono if you need to. Go with that practice 100 times if that's what you need. But understand that this is going to take some time, but you are worth that time. I am so incredibly thankful for you taking the time to be here with me today, my wonderful family. I am so hopeful for the amazing things that you are going to do as you start to increase this practice of self-love. Let me know in the comments below how you need to increase your self-love and what practices you are going to do today to increase that love. Thank you so much for thank you so much for tuning into this video. My name is Mav. I love y'all. Peace.